Welcome to URBONUS podcast, guys. Today we're here in the studio again, only two of us. Donatas is away for a couple of weeks. He's on a well-deserved holiday, I guess. And me and Rytis are going to talk about Panathinaikos, their current form. We're going to talk about a little bit Zalgiris, about referees in the EuroLeague. That was quite a hot topic, and I know Rytis has a rant prepared on that topic. And
not everything I say is a rant. Sometimes it's just an opinion.
I know, but
maybe it's just the way I present it.
Right. A lot of things happened last week. Marc Gasol retired after a long career. We'll share some memories about him as well. Erdem Can was fired in the middle of a double week. That was quite a stunning move from Efes, although I was not surprised. Joel Bolomboy extended with Zvezda his contract, and our, let's say, main topic of this podcast is going to be transfer deadline signings, because February the 7th is the last day to sign new players for EuroLeague teams. So we are going to give some options for a couple of EuroLeague teams to improve their chances, either for a Final Four appearance or to make the play-in or the playoffs. So I guess let's start with Panathinaikos. And Ettore Messina, before the double week, said that Panathinaikos, together with Real Madrid, right now are two best teams in Europe. And my question to you, Rytis, is: do you agree with the statement about Messina? How do you saw them in their double week? Did it change your opinion? And do you think they're the second best team in Europe at the moment?
I think if you do the power rankings, probably for December and January, they are, alongside with Real Madrid. But I have to say, like, Barcelona is very consistent. They're getting wins, so I think they are in the second spot for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
But just talking about the quality on defense, on offense, Panathinaikos is like a really complete, solid team. Like, we see some of the teams that maybe have a pretty high offensive rating, but they struggle with the defensive rating. We see some teams vice versa, like they have a really good defense, but maybe lack some quality offensively. Panathinaikos actually have both. A really solid defense, and at the same time, a really good offense.
Just to interrupt you for a second about those stats. They are in the last 11 games.
Yeah.
They have the second best offense and the number one defense. And their net rating is the best in the last 12 rounds. So
exactly.
That's
so
spectacular.
Actually, the numbers just prove what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Of course, like, we saw them now without Suliauskas. I think with Suliauskas they have more potential. Talking about the pick and rolls that he's playing with Lazor and everything else. For example, in Kaunas, it was all about Kendrick Nunn, and Vildosa had a bad night. So basically, if you're without Suliauskas, you need someone else to step up, and that guy I'm expecting to make the step is Vildosa. I think he can play much better. But in general, just like they look like a legit Final Four contender at the moment, the way they are playing. I just think there's a lot more belief right now in the system. I remember in the beginning of the season, it was difficult to maybe understand what are the roles for these players, because everyone is a new face in Panathinaikos. They changed the team completely. They have a new coach, and in the beginning of the season, I couldn't predict that Jerry Grant will be Defensive Player of the Year contender. I couldn't predict that, like, Juancho Hernan Gomez will be struggling, but Marius Grigonis will actually be one of the key players for them. It was hard to see all those things coming, but right now I can see them with clear roles. They know what they're doing. They have a lot of talent and they have a lot of confidence. So this makes a team that is capable of beating anybody. Although in Kaunas, they suffered a defeat in, I would say, a very high quality basketball game.
Yeah, that was, to me, that was definitely the thing that stuck in my memory. That was high quality for both teams. And despite this loss that we are going to dive deep a little bit later, despite this loss in Kaunas, it did not change my mind. I have Panathinaikos right there at the top with Real Madrid. I think Ettore Messina was completely on point, and they lost a game on Friday against another really good team that played at home, that played with a crowd that was probably the best, let's say, in this season in Zalgiris Arena. And Panathinaikos showed that they can stay in games, they can compete, and we all know how hard it is to beat them at home. Like Oaxaca is I don't know, one of the, if not the loudest arena this season. With all the fans back, I think Panathinaikos have a super solid size in their roster with Mitoglu and Lesort in their front court. These are two big bodies. Okay, maybe they lack centimeters a little bit with Lesort against really tall centers. But, muscle-wise, the mobility, the sheer power, they're really mesmerizing to watch. They have the ability to defend in the backcourt as well. With Grant taking the primary offensive players, but also Nunn and Suliauskas, I think when they were playing together, they were really active on defense. So it's not like both of those guys you can target them, and a lot of teams do. But they're really energetic, and I really like them from this. You have Kendrick Nunn, who we saw in Kaunas. That guy is one of the top guards in Europe at the moment.
Sure.
The way his shape has been rising, the way he just moves on the court. And that one move I remember against Kevarius Hayes in the second half, he did a one crossover hesitation, like fake that he's shooting, and then exploded to his left hand. And Kevarius Hayes almost, I don't know, kissed the floor. He didn't lose his balance to the fullest, but he was definitely near that. The shots they made, so this loss against Zalgiris don't change my opinion. I think they're the top team to beat, top 2 team to beat in Europe at the moment.
You're probably right. Although, the standings are crazy. Like you have
absolutely
2 more teams with 15 wins. You have, for example, Olympiacos chasing them. We might be talking about Panathinaikos being in a very good moment, and Olympiacos facing some difficulties. They have so many injured players, but there's just 1 win separating them. Like this EuroLeague is so competitive. About Kendrick Nunn, what I wanted to say, like what I'm impressed. I'm impressed with his game in general, but what I'm impressed with the most
half court interview, halftime interview.
That was. I don't know why it was like that. I'm not sure. It was kind of funny, but also awkward. But what I'm impressed with is his confidence. Like other teams, of course, starting to put more emphasis on him. So they are forcing him to his right. And he doesn't have a problem going to his right hand. Like, it's his weaker hand. But, okay, you do this. I drive to my right hand. I will find a way to finish with my left. But, that's one thing about his confidence. The other thing is that coming into the Zalgiris game, he had 29% from free. He doesn't care. And Zalgiris probably treated him as a 29% shooter in the first quarter. He does not care about those numbers. He has confidence in his shot. He knows he can make those shots. And what happened is he scored 13 points in the first quarter. I think there was one sequence where Zalgiris actually went to help from the strong side, leaving Kendrick Nunn wide open. And I remember that play. That was the 29% treatment. And he hits 3 in a row. You cannot do that anymore. So he's a player that is capable of changing the flow of the game on his own. Okay, versus Zalgiris, it was tough for him. He didn't have enough help, let's say, from Vildosa. Suliauskas didn't play. So even though Kendrick Nunn was scoring, in the second half, you could see more of the hero ball when they were down by 10, by 12 in the fourth quarter. He had 7 turnovers. He tried to call a timeout when he was pressured to the out of bounds.
Sideline.
Near the sideline. So that was a funny moment. But I think many NBA players coming into Europe have this one time where they try to call a timeout with the ball in their hands. At least once. Yeah. But in general, I have to agree with you about Panathinaikos and their potential. Like, one loss doesn't change it.
And It was without Suliauskas.
Yeah, and in the same week,
And we saw that in the
they
fourth
beat
quarter.
Milan 79-62. Again, Milan, I wouldn't say they are a team on the rise, but in some games you see that Milan is actually a team that could be in the playoffs and could maybe even compete for the Final Four. So when you play Milan, you never judge them by the standings. You always judge them by the quality in the roster. And Panathinaikos kept them with 62 points, which is impressive.
Before the game, there was a nice moment. I saw Marius Grigonis giving a shirt to a fan or a friend. I'm not sure what was that, but it was a cool moment that he brought, his Panathinaikos jersey to one of his, I don't know, Lithuanian friends or a fan. I'm not sure. And we have some jerseys here for us today as well from our sponsor, SK Store. And we are going to do some unpacking like we are used to. SK Store has been supporting us for a couple of times.
I'm going to stop buying clothes from now because I'm like getting so many gifts this season.
First of all, we have this t-shirt. I think, do you recognize the last name of this?
I do. It's a WNBA player.
And she's from Dallas.
She's from Dallas.
And did you see the story with her and Grant Williams?
I didn't. No.
No?
No.
You are an NBA guy.
Enlighten me. I mean, I watched the WNBA playoffs, but I don't really follow that much on social media.
Okay, so the story, and by the way, this shirt is amazing. Like SK Store has a lot of different shirts, and they're really great quality. I have the one of LaMelo Ball. I think you have one of Jeremy Sohan.
That is true.
And we have another one here in the studio of Wembanyama, which we're probably going to lose at some point. But anyway, the story with her is that Grant Williams was talking to her. Grant Williams was talking to her after one WNBA game last summer. And the camera caught Grant Williams actually asking for her phone number after the short conversation after a game in the middle of the court. And so it went viral. And I think couple of days ago, I think Grant Williams arrived to the game with a shirt of her, and she quoted that picture on Twitter and just said, "He got my number." And it went viral because of all these stores.
So that's Satu Sabali from Dallas Wings, and she actually in Europe she plays for Fenerbahce in Turkey.
Oh, at the moment?
I'm not sure. She has a contract, so probably yes.
Okay. And so SK Store does not only have these amazing game T-shirts, they have all kinds of basketball gear.
Jerseys, right?
Jerseys.
That makes
game
more sense,
jerseys. Game jerseys, right.
Jerseys.
They have retro sneakers. You can find probably, if you like basketball, you have a favorite player, you can find the jersey. And they're one of the best online basketball stores. They're available for worldwide shipping.
Yeah.
So if you want to buy these sneakers that I have here right now, they look really cool, or this even WNBA t-shirt, you can go to skstore.eu. And right now, if you sign up, you can collect 5% discount off your first purchase. And you collect partner club points with each purchase. So if you spend 100 euros in their store, you get 40 points. And for every 100 points, you get a €1 discount on your next shopping. So check out skstore.eu. Amazing jerseys. Thanks a lot for sending these.
You want to try?
Once again, I can actually do the podcast with
it's medium size. So I transferred to L a couple of years ago.
You think this is not good for you?
I think M does not fit me anymore these days. So
okay,
I have to be honest to myself first of all.
While I do the changing, what do you think about Zalgiris actually winning the game? What was your main takeaway from that game? And do you think Zalgiris can actually create a miracle?
Yeah. Well, talking about the whole week, not only the Panathinaikos game, they also played Efes. both games were really impressive. I haven't seen Žalgiris playing with so much purpose since Šaras days. Honestly, last season Žalgiris overachieved, but I was still kind of skeptical, saying that, well, they're riding their luck sometimes. They're playing with their hearts, but I don't really see that much like quality and stuff that you expect in modern day basketball, the way the team is supposed to play when they're really not one of those rich clubs with star players on the roster. Žalgiris has one star player that's pretty clear, is Keenan Evans. And these two games against Efes, against Panathinaikos, that was I haven't been this impressed with Žalgiris since Šaras.
That's a bold statement.
Honestly,
That's a bold statement.
Every pass has a purpose. Every dribble has a purpose.
Yep.
Every time a player is driving, he knows what he has to do. They have sets for shooters like Brady Manick. They are using Birutis the way he is supposed to be playing as a big man. Like, there's no more posting up for 7 or 8 seconds that actually kills the flow of the game. He doesn't do any unnecessary touches or dribbles. He gets the ball from a short roll. He either passes to the corner or he shoots his sweet right-handed floater that is very difficult to defend. And he's making those for the past few weeks at 90% rate.
He's probably 9 of 10 on those shots alone.
Like, everything they do now makes so much sense. Rarely do you see possessions where the clock is running out and they have to take a desperate shot. Like, Keenan Evans sometimes still is in those positions, but rarely. And also that there's a fact that he's capable of making tough shots. And when you see Keenan Evans getting 35 performance index rating with 11 field goals, only 11 field goals, I mean, that is just crazy. And Trinchieri is really smart, saving Keenan Evans' energy for the fourth quarter. Like, sometimes even when he is on the court, he leaves the ball handling duties to the other guard, stands in the corner for a couple of possessions. When he's on the bench, they're still playing with good energy. Like, even Edmond Sumner, even though like he's struggling with decision making, with shot making, he still gives you energy, and that's why Trinchieri puts him on the court. So I'm super impressed. Some of the players actually are in better situations right now than they were before. Some, you could say, maybe have to adjust to a different system, different rotations. Like Roland Schmitz, for example. Previously, he was player with most minutes on this roster, playing 30, 32 minutes per game. Now he's not even starting, and he's playing 18 or 20 minutes. But he has those big runs. Like in the third quarter, I think Schmitz was one of the players that actually changed the game and helped Žalgiris to build the lead.
When he's on the court, they use him to the fullest.
Yeah, but Brady Manick as a shooting big, Trinchieri just, you can see he loves having Brady Manick on his team, and he knows how to use him. So I'm really impressed.
Do you believe they can make the play-in?
That's what I was going to.
This is the tricky question
to answer right now. So
the way they're playing, I would say they're a top 5 team by quality.
Quality-wise, yes, but there's another thing. We saw this at home,
right,
in Žalgiris Arena. Away from home is different. Like when they last went to Stark Arena, I don't think they played bad basketball. I just think that there was not enough help for Keenan Evans. Players were not making shots. And Partizan at home, it's tough, even though they started the game great. And that's another thing. Like with Trinchieri, they always start the game very well. Like they build the early lead. That happened against Fenerbahce, against Partizan, against Efes, against Panathinaikos. Efes, that was I think historically that was the best quarter for Zalgiris in EuroLeague, 34-14.
I think so. Biggest advantage.
Biggest margin,
plus 20.
And 34 points.
At least this season was the best.
Yeah. So this is why I don't really believe in the miracle. Like you still have to win away from home. You don't really have much space for mistakes. You can lose maybe 2 games out of 9.
I think 2
more.
games is maximum.
So even though they're playing good basketball, great basketball, maybe it's just a little bit too late. Like I don't think they will catch the train. Although there is a possibility, and they're treating every game as a final. Probably they're not looking at the standings. They're just thinking like we have to go game by game and see where it gets us. But we can try to predict and calculate, and I don't see them like winning 9 games in a row. Even this week, a really tough away game versus Zvezda, and it means so much because Zvezda is in the same position. They will try to beat Zalgiris. They will try to get the points advantage over Zalgiris because Zalgiris won the first game in Kaunas. So this game means so much. Like if you lose this, probably the expectations will go down once again. But if somehow they get this win away from home, I think people will start believing.
This game is I don't know, do or die.
Yeah,
it's not do or die, but if you win this game, you can actually start hoping something because Zalgiris have 5 games remaining at home, 4 games away. One is in Stark Arena this Friday. The other is in Stark Arena against Maccabi. In
Alexander
it's not
Nikolic.
Stark. Yeah. Right. You're right. But it's with no people, so it's an easier away game than most. And the other away games is Bayern and AS Monaco in the round 33. So somehow, if you win those games at home, their schedule is really tough, but they have Real Madrid as their last game. Probably Real Madrid is not going to care about that game that much. But it's really hard to believe in it. But Andrea Trinchieri somehow changed this team in 1 month, completely changed this team. And I somehow, of course, as a Lithuanian, I want to believe that there is still this slim hope of reaching the play-in. But I see these all other teams. You're going to need 17 wins. So Žalgiris can lose only twice, and that's really a small margin.
Yeah.
So
there's no margin for error.
There's no margin for error.
And actually, if you lose, it's better to lose, let's say, to a team like Monaco. You're not chasing Monaco.
Right.
Don't lose to Baskonia. Don't lose to Zvezda.
That's why I come back to the point that this game on Friday can answer a lot of things, and it's going to be super important and definitely one to watch before the break.
Also, another thing I want to say, like I'm praising Trinchieri and the way Žalgiris were playing last week. I don't want this to sound like a bad image on our previous coach, Kazys Maksvytis. I'm not trying to say he didn't do a good job. All I'm saying is that Trinchieri actually made improvements, and it seems like the club made the right choice.
Look, I said it after the broadcast. Maksvytis did an amazing job last season. Some new things were missing this season, but it does not mean he is a bad coach. Like last season, this team was playing with amazing details for every game.
One of the best defensive teams.
One of the best defensive teams. These two are really different coaches. Like Kazys build the team more around the talent that he had, on Keenan Evans, on Edgaras Ulanovas post-ups, Roland Smith's post-ups. He had Brazdeikis last season, and he tried to live on the same principles that he continues as a coach after the season. He was dealt a really harsh hand, to start this EuroLeague season. You cannot forget this. Absolutely. Everyone who's saying that, oh wow, look, Trinchieri is a much better coach. Okay, maybe that is the truth, but compare the rosters that you have right now. Arnas is back, Brady Manek is back. Keenan Evans is playing on a different level.
Arnas was huge, actually.
Arnas is huge. So
versus Panathinaikos, I think in the second half he was so important. That is true. Like they had problems this season with injuries. It was not only about the coaching. Now it's much better when they have players back, and also in a double game week. As funny as it sounds, like for Keenan Evans, the early foul trouble versus Efes actually helped him to maybe be 100% against Panathinaikos.
Yeah, but we are going to talk about that Efes game, I think, on the segment we have about Erdem Can. I want to throw in some
okay,
points.
we will get into it. It's just from Keenan Evans' perspective.
Yeah.
Like Dimsha took his minutes, took his role. They had a comfortable lead, and then versus Panathinaikos, fireworks.
Yep.
And right now, like you mentioned the word believe a lot. Like, do we believe in Zalgiris' chances? Do the fans believe? So I think
I simply believe in this team.
This song Italo Disco became a hit in Zalgiris Arena. I think they probably should change it to the classics Journey, Don't Stop Believing.
Okay. There was one thing that Wade Baldwin didn't believe last week, and that was EuroLeague referees. And then, a lot of players expressed their discontent, I would say. Frustration in the referees this season. There was Kendrick Nunn saying that despite a 20-point win, the referees are terrible. Somebody's got to hold them responsible for the way they officiate the game. If nobody's going to say it, the players have to. They can take whatever they want from it. Referees have to do a much better job officiating the game, calling both ways. And I stress calling both ways.
Yeah.
And Chima Moneke also was on Twitter. He wrote, also something needs to be done about these refs, please.
And he said that after a win.
He said it after a win where Wade Baldwin, after the whistle, after the final buzzer sounded, he threw the ball towards the side of the referee. I'm happy he did not throw it straight to the referee's face. And then he came really close, basically to the referee's face and said probably not a lot of good things. So do you really agree with not what Wade Baldwin done, because that was, I think, absolutely unnecessary and he needs to be punished for that. But do you think that the referees are, doing a bad job this season, and how much is it, let's say, worsening your EuroLeague watching experience?
Well, first of all, like, even if they have a bad performance officiating, you should not assault a referee. Like, at the end of the day, it's a human being trying to do his job.
That was bad.
You're a human being trying to do your job. I get the emotions, the frustration and all, but I don't think you should react in that manner, especially after that last play where there was actually no foul. He just lost the ball. But I get it that probably his reaction was not because of this last play.
For sure.
It's because of what happened during the 40 minutes. Now, to answer your question, does it bother me, and how much does it disturb me while I'm watching the games? I'm gonna say that I'm more disappointed with the actual rules that we have than the quality of refereeing.
Okay.
Although I agree that this season there's not much consistency with the refs, and when there's one player complaining, okay, you say that maybe that's just his character. But 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 players on Twitter talking about refs, probably there is a problem, and it has to be addressed.
We remember Mike James was on Twitter as well after the Panathinaikos game.
Yeah. So we're not saying that the refs are favoring some teams, but in general, probably, and there's not enough consistency. And this season, it's kind of frustrating. But I'm actually disappointed with our rules. First of all these video reviews. There are so many unnecessary video reviews. We have to do something about it.
The games are so long.
Like, you added an extra coaches challenge, and now the refs sometimes, when they have doubts, instead of actually going to the monitor, they ask the coach, do you want to challenge this? The coach then decides he does. It's a really long process. And if I'm watching that game, I mean, it just forces me to do some other stuff. I pick up my phone, I start scrolling, I lose my attention. And sometimes these video reviews are pretty unnecessary, I would say. Like, they spend 3 or 4 minutes to check whether they should add 1 more second on the clock in the middle of the first quarter. So that's one thing.
Those are the worst.
Yeah,
man.
those are the
worst.
And we've talked about the conversations that we hear at the time when they're asking for the master camera, give me the control. Man, something has to be done about this. Also, some of our rules. Like, first of all, I don't like what an unsportsmanlike foul is according to the European rules. I think that in the NBA, it's much better with the flagrant fouls and the clear path fouls. There's an obvious criteria what is a clear path foul, and the flagrant foul is actual unnecessary physical contact or something like you do on purpose to hurt the opposing player. A tough foul shouldn't be an unsportsmanlike foul. Like someone just not going for the ball but fouling someone under the rim shouldn't be an unsportsmanlike foul, in my opinion.
You want this to be more like in an NBA, where
Yes,
you can make
exactly.
a hard foul.
And the other thing is, and I would call it a circus, the way they award free throws. Like,
I agree. I completely agree.
Like Wade Baldwin's example is a good one from the Baskonia game. He was awarded free throws because the refs went to the screen, they looked at it and they said, well, there's an attempt to shoot. Well, I don't care. What is an attempt to shoot? You're either shooting or not. So there is no actual shot. There is an attempt to shoot. So allow these refs to use some common sense. Not only the rule book, but also the common sense. Is the player actually shooting from that position, taking into account all the circumstances, the shot clock, the result, the game clock, or is he just fishing for cheap free throws?
Wade Baldwin was doing a 1-2 step into a shooting motion is really a strong statement. That was like
he knows the foul. He knows the foul is coming, so he might pretend that he's attempting to shoot the ball, and then he's getting free throws. And
it's not only him.
It's not like I'm not talking about one player doing this. It's everyone is doing it. Like you can use the rules in your favor. Go ahead, you're doing it. Like James Harden was doing something similar in the NBA, and they changed the rules. They actually started changing the rules because of these things, because players are fishing for free throws. So the rule book is fine, but you also need some common sense.
Mm-hmm.
So stop awarding these silly free throws. And it's not only on 3-point shots. Sometimes you see these situations with someone driving to the rim. He's in the air, and he's obviously looking to pass the ball. But since there's contact, he gets his arms up, and then the refs decide that that's an attempt to shoot the ball to the basket. So I don't like these rules. I think they need to be changed. I think that would improve our game, and also do something about these video reviews, because technology is good when you use it properly. But sometimes when you misuse technology, it actually, I'm not going to say kills the game. It's too strong of a word, but it kind of bothers me and bothers all the other people watching those games, because now a EuroLeague broadcast where we play fourth quarters of 10 minutes somehow is 2.5 hours.
Yep. I think that's a big problem. The games are okay. The length is not the problem if you are playing the actual game, because it's interesting. The problem is those stops that you mentioned. And in my eyes, it actually the refereeing is somehow way more terrible than last year. We did not talk about the referees that much. Okay, the fans are always going. Whenever Panathinaikos lose or Olympiacos lose, Fenerbahce, it doesn't really matter. All the teams, the fans of all the teams, there's a group of these fans that do it. You know, they say, "Oh, but have you seen the refs?" It was probably not the refs, but the refereeing both ways, the inconsistency, the amount of how much people talk about the refs, you know, as we speak after the games, is just, I think it's too much, and I think it is a direct result of them not being consistent enough. I don't know whether that's video, more challenges, they're less decisive in their calls or whatever that is, but I hope they really get better, let's say, for the second part of the season.
Yeah, and if players are talking about it, it's probably an issue, because I don't have to play those games. I don't have to go through what they're going through. I just watch those games. So they know much better. If they got a call last week and they're not getting the same call this week, they're going to make a fuss about it. So I have to, I have to trust them. Like if there's a whole group of players complaining, and maybe some European players would admit also that the refereeing is not so good, but they're just not used to being vocal about these things, not used to going to Twitter. I remember talking to some Lithuanian players some years ago, like, and they were so frustrated with the officiating in these FIBA qualifying windows. They were saying, like, we play in our leagues, domestic leagues, in FIBA competitions on club level, and we don't get that bad refereeing, and all of a sudden it's happening here. But they don't go public. Now we have players going public. Maybe it's a good thing. At the same time, I don't like that EuroLeague is silent every time someone criticizes their refs. Like, you should react either like with statements, actually admitting some mistakes were made in some of those games, like the NBA does, reports sometimes. And they admit, like, there were 6 bad calls in the fourth quarter in the Lakers-Minnesota game or something like that. Just an example. And at the same time, well, you as a league, you still have to protect the refs. So what Wade Baldwin did has to be punished. Sometimes this public criticism in press conferences, in TV interviews, in Twitter, on Twitter, probably also deserves a fine. But you need some communication as well, like to explain to people why certain calls were made, to maybe provide some reports, analysis of some games that, like Maccabi Baskonia game, you have both teams not happy with the refs. Baskonia won, but they are still not happy, and they got a double win actually. They won the game and they beat Maccabi by 10. They lost the first game by 8. But Chimamoneke is not happy with the refs. Maccabi, obviously they're disappointed. Not only they lost the game, they feel like the refs didn't actually control the game. So that's all I have to say on the issue. I mean, you should probably talk to the players. I just watch those games. Sometimes I do admit that there are bad calls. I always want to defend the refs because they do their job. They're human beings, as I said. I never got a technical playing in amateur leagues.
I hope they can fix this. Anyway, Marc Gasol retired, and he had an amazing career. He won the FIBA World Cups twice, FIBA Eurobasket twice. He played in 2 Olympic finals, 191 games for national career. Defensive Player of the Year in the NBA in 2013, 3-time All-Star, NBA champion. He has everything, probably except the Olympic gold in his career. And what was your biggest memory, let's say? Which moment of his career stands out for you? Is there a particular game maybe? Or...
well, if we're talking about a particular game, I would say the 2019 World Cup.
Damn, I had the same
semifinal versus Australia.
Yep.
Spain looked beaten. It seemed like they don't have a chance. And actually, I think that year Australia had a better team than Spain. Spain had Ricky Rubio, the MVP, and they had Marc. But so many players didn't arrive that year for the national team, and nobody thought that they could actually win the World Cup. And it didn't seem like they could beat Australia. But Marc Gasol was clutch. He did everything.
Australia was playing amazingly.
For sure. I think they deserved a medal. They were unlucky not to win the medal in that competition. So if we're talking about one game, it will probably be this one. But
do you remember the stats?
I would say he scored like 33 points.
You checked up the box score, man.
I did not.
33.
He did.
33.
I did not check the box score, but I was in China commentating that game. Yeah, so I do have pretty good memory.
33 points in almost 39 minutes, 11 of 19 from the field, man. 8 of 10 from 2, 3 of 9 from the free, all 8 made free throws.
And he scored a basket to get the game to the overtime, I think.
I think so.
I think he scored the last basket in the fourth quarter.
Maybe that's an idea to rewatch for our retro segment. But He also had 6 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 blocks. His plus-minus was +9, 33 efficiency. And I don't know. That game definitely, stayed in my mind until this moment that, we were talking about this with Donatas, with Marc Gasol retiring. And he was like, what moment do you remember? And I'm like, damn, that semifinal game was
they didn't
too
have
good.
PAO, so it was all about Marc that year. But in general, I have to say, it's not one game or one series or one competition. Not. It's his whole career. Like, no one expected him to become an NBA star. No one expected him to become even a top center in Europe. When he was young, when he was playing in Spain, people looked at him as Pau Gasol's younger brother.
That's it.
And that's it. And he was drafted in the second round, I think 46th pick, 43rd pick, something like that, by the LA Lakers.
48.
And when they did the trade for Pau Gasol, they just added the draft rights to Marc Gasol as something that doesn't really mean much. And
like a stash pick usually, a European stash pick.
Exactly. And
that is not going to go overseas to the NBA.
Maybe even the Memphis Grizzlies didn't think at the time that they are getting a player that they will build their team around in the future.
10 years in Memphis.
I think in the first 2K game, he had a 52 overall or something like that.
I don't know that, man. You play the 2K.
I'm thinking like something like that, close to it. But what we saw is actually he never looked like the most athletic player on the court, but his IQ was something else. Like, of course, there's this body strength and everything, but first of all, it's his IQ. So when you think about passing big man, you're thinking about Sabonis, Jokic, and Marc Gasol. So Pau Gasol was always seen as the more talented offensive player with more skill, but Marc Gasol was the better passer, and he's one probably at the time before Jokic, he was the best passing center in the league. And the way he was protecting the paint, protecting the rim, the way he was reading the game, eventually he added this pick and pop shooting.
This is the last thing I wanted to add. He averaged 0.2 3-pointers per game in the NBA until he turned 32 years old. Then from 0.1, he went to 3.6 attempts in the next season. And then he was shooting like 3, 4, 2 threes per game until the end of his career. And that's amazing.
I remember Masai Ujiri traded Jonas Valanciunas for Marc Gasol. So in Lithuania, people were saying like, what? Why? And I get it, but they knew what they were doing. They knew that they need a veteran center who could help them stop players like Joel Embiid, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and also do this pick and pop, shoot the free thing, which he was doing at that point of his career. And they ended up being the NBA champions. And Marc Gasol was a huge part of it. So, I mean, he was actually one of my favorite players because of how he was an underdog throughout his career, and then he reached this level of being the NBA Defensive Player of the Year, an all-star, a core key player to this Memphis Grizzlies team that we know the grit and grind culture they created, and Marc Gasol was the main man in that culture, in that team. I could spend an hour, the whole podcast, probably talking about Marc.
Shout out to Marc. Amazing career. What's not so amazing is that another EuroLeague team fired a coach last week. Erdem Can was fired in the middle of a double week, and I thought that was the first time, but I saw in our group chat of BasketNews that it happened before. What do you think Efes should sign? Because there is no, at least I didn't see, you didn't see, a lot of my colleagues, what's the situation with their current head coach? Who of the three options, available options, as Dimitris Studis, Cariolo, Gianmarco Pozzecco, or others, would you sign right now? And or maybe you would wait until the summer. But my question is, how does Efes rebuild from here? what do they do? What are the two free moves? What are the two free moves if you are an FS GM right now?
I actually would like to hear your answers.
First?
Well,
okay.
I just have to say this. Throughout the whole season, I defended Erdem Can, and I said that they should not fire him. But after Zalgiris game, I put my headphones on the table. I looked at my colleague, Jonas Lakshas, and I said, that man is getting fired tomorrow.
Yeah. I said it after 2 quarters, to be honest. Because... And I think he is going to be an excellent coach. But he did not get those players, I think, to believe in him. Those same players went on and won against Milan 2 days later. And they're definitely not playing such a bad defense against Zalgiris if they actually try.
Yeah, there's no effort. There was
no effort. There was no energy. And what does that mean? This means players don't believe in a coach. And I'm not saying they sold him out, but this was the same, I think, as it was in Zalgiris with Kazis Makskvidis. Probably some players started doubting the tactics or whatever, or they had disagreements with the coaches. I'm not inside of the team. I don't know. That's just my guess. But the body language, we see the change in Zalgiris. I expect to see a similar change in Efes as they start playing, as they maybe, change the coach right now. Because the way they were playing against Zalgiris, they definitely didn't believe anymore in the system. The losses got to them, and those players are not as bad as they looked in Kaunas.
No.
But it's truth to be told, I think, to be honest, I think they should wait until the summer to sign a coach. I don't think they're making the play-in, even though they can play very well one day. They have just too many weak spots, I think, in the roster. I think the structure of that roster is not good enough to compete in the EuroLeague. Their defense is the worst, 18th defensive rating. I looked at advanced stats in the second half. They have had 6 games this season where they allowed more than 50 points in third and fourth quarter. That's when your defense has to be the best. And 5 of those games were away, obviously. So I think they should make a coaching change in the summer. Itoudis is available, Scariolo is available. Maybe you go for, Sergio Scariolo. I would go for him. Build a team around Shane Larkin. He's only 31. He has, let's say, proved again to everybody that he's that guy on your roster. He has been amazing in terms of points scored, creation. He always attracts 2 people. But you need to get someone who is a defensive-minded center, like somebody of a profile of Matthias Lesor. I think that's what Efes needs. And then, building the team around Shane Larkin, I think you need to move some pieces around and just get more defense, get new players, try to maybe, have guys that don't tend to get injured that much. 18 different players played for Efes this season because of all their injuries. That's been a huge problem because when you have new coach, you need players to be healthy, and Erdem Can did not have it. So a lot of things that Efes have to do.
Yeah, they are unlucky with injuries this season, I must admit. And sometimes you cannot really predict players getting injured, but sometimes you sign players knowing their history. And I agree with you that they probably should finish this season with an interim coach or the way they are right now, because it's not really possible to do a miracle and win the EuroLeague or something like that. So even making the play-in is a long shot right now.
And Efes is a big team. They don't care about making play-in.
Yeah, so
they care about winning
you
titles.
Compete for the title or you don't. Like, okay, there's Turkish league, and maybe even in the current situation you could win the finals in the Turkish league. Who knows in what shape the teams will be early in the summer or at the end of May. Talking about the next coach, you mentioned all the names. I would throw another name. If I was Efes GM trying to be creative again, I would try to go for Thomas Lisalo.
Thomas Isalo.
Yeah.
Amazing coach.
Paris basketball coach. I know it probably will be very difficult because Paris has a good project with him.
He just signed with them.
But okay, maybe if Paris don't go to EuroLeague next year, you could offer something better. You will have to probably offer a lot of money, but
are you going for another rookie coach?
That's the thing. Probably after all the success he had with Ataman and now this season with the new coach, you're probably going to go for some safe options like Itudis or Scariolo. But Isalo to me sounds...
I would love to see him in the EuroLeague.
Like a really definitely good idea for Efes.
Definitely a coach that to keep an eye on. I mean, let's go on to another signing. Not another signing, but Joel Bolomboy extending his contract with Zvezda until the 25-26 season. Milos Teodosic got that man a new contract. No, I'm kidding. He helped with his passes.
Yeah.
But Bolomboy has been amazing this season. And my question is, where do you see him in the centers list? Is he top 5? Is he top 10? Is he top 15 only? And what's your top 5 after that?
Well, he's not top 5.
He's not top 5?
I don't think so. You could have a discussion for top 10, maybe.
He's looking at the stats. He's 10th in PAR and I think a little bit lower in points. But the 9 names above him is Matthias Lesor, Johannes Tiemann, Jan Vesely, Tavares, Ibaka, Milutinov, Nebo, Mustafa Fall, and Vincent Poirier. Below is Brandon Davies, the next closest one. Do you think he's above any of those guys that I just mentioned?
I'm not sure, maybe not, but even in his previous teams, he was a defensive presence. So now in Zvezda, with Teodosic and other point guards that they have, he's getting more easy points. As a center who's very good at rolling at the rim or even playing above the rim, that's all he needs to have a good passing point guard, and you can average 10 points per game. But what is more important to me is his defense. He is definitely one of the best defensive centers in the league right now. And that's why they extended his contract, because if he would become a free agent in the summer, many teams would go for him. And the teams he played before were title contenders, Olympiacos and CSKA Moscow. And in those teams, I also saw him as a good defensive center. But now he's probably reaching his peak, and he found the best place for him to play. And he gets those numbers, averaging 10 points per game, 5 rebounds per game. So I don't want to be unfair to anybody. Like top 5,
top 5 is none.
There are players like Eddie Tavares, Lesor.
Let's go with our top 5 centers of this season. Who do you have at number 1?
It's just based on this season, right?
Just this season performance.
Just this season performance. Because in general, I would say Eddie. But just this season performance, I have to go with Lesor.
Okay. That's fair. For me, number 1, number 2 is Vesely or Matthias Lesor.
Yeah.
It doesn't really matter 1 or 2, 2 or 1.
Vesely, yeah. Jan Vesely this season, he's been so impressive. I mean, he's been impressive for so long, but this season in particular. So Vesely, Lesor.
I have Mustafa Fall at 3.
Mustafa Fall.
The guy
before the injury, he was someone who could actually get a triple-double.
As center was actually the number 1 option in the offense of Olympiacos. I don't know if that's been the case since 2005. Okay, maybe I'm exaggerating. It's more about like 2012 or 2015. Some teams in the NBA still have Nikola Jokic, but 90% of the teams nowadays build their team around guards, and you have Mustafa Fall acting as a guy who receives the ball with 5 seconds left in the shot clock in Olympiacos. So that just speaks volumes to me. He's been amazing, posting up, rebounding, passing the ball, and on defense, just his size.
Yeah.
When you add Thomas Walkup in that pick and roll defense. It's amazing. So to me, he's number 3. And we spoke about Milutinov.
He should be in this conversation, but too many injuries, too many missed games, and that has been a nagging issue for 3 or 4 years for him.
Right.
So that is sad because we know his true potential. We know that if he's in shape and he's playing, he's definitely one of the top 5 centers in this league.
So we have like Fall, Walter Tavares in the top 5, and one last name.
Yeah, we must have Eddie. Although this season is not the best for him. Even now he was injured, but
he's still.
Like you could say, Vincent Poirier
there in the middle,
but you could say Vincent Poirier has a case of being in the top 5 this season.
Right.
But I don't know. I'm really impressed with Josh Nebo this year.
I think he made a step forward.
Definitely. He's the best offensive rebounder in the league right now. He creates these extra possessions for Maccabi. Maccabi is not necessarily a great defensive team so far, but Nebo, I think he's like the best option for them at center, defensive wise and offensively as well, because he's so strong above the rim. So many alley-oop plays with him. He's getting to the line a lot. He's taking, I don't know how many, but I would say like 6 free throws per game probably. And also these offensive rebounds. So judging by this season only, I would probably put him in my top 5.
Okay. I agree, and I think Bolomboy is around where he is with his PAR. In the 10th spot, around that mark, top 10. For him, for a guy who was a backup center just last year in Olympiacos, one of 3 options, I think it's a great step forward for him, one of the breakout players. He deserves that contract. I don't care, you're playing with Milos Teodosic, just much easier, but he has been one of the few players in Zvezda that are consistent this season.
Yeah, and before the season, you couldn't say that he had like guaranteed minutes, or you could say that he's definitely their main center because they signed many players and there was competition in that team.
We did not expect that. Okay, and let's go to our last topic about transfer deadlines. As I mentioned in the beginning, February 7th is the last day for EuroLeague teams to sign players, and we have a couple of offers for some teams to improve during the last days, and it's not going to be anything huge. We don't have a particular name for every team, but we just have a player profile for some teams that they should strengthen their roster and just increase their chances just a little bit to reach the Final Four or the playoffs. So what do you have in mind?
So first of all, I have to say that I don't believe in February signings making your team the champion. So they might help you a little bit, but I don't see a huge game changer that would change the league completely.
February signings don't win you titles. Write it on the wall. I don't know.
They just help you to survive.
Just a little bit.
You're approaching the cup competitions this month. The schedule in the domestic leagues is also getting tougher because some teams are fighting for the playoff spots in Spain, for example. And that's why I want to start with a Spanish team, and that is Baskonia. A huge win for them over Maccabi. A really tough double game week. And during that week, they ended up being left with only one center, and that is Mike Kotsar. And I think Mike Kotsar was terrific versus Maccabi, defensively and offensively, but he played 37 minutes. And you're not going to last long with Mike Kotsar playing 37 minutes. I know players will be back eventually. They have Costello out, they have Sedekerskis out, they have Khalifa Diop out. So they're definitely undermanned right now. Okay, with the guards, they're fine. Chris Chioza is out, but they just signed Jordan Theodore, a veteran player, and he's definitely helping them. But I just want another big in Baskonia to help Kotsar, to help Moneke, to help even Sedekerskis when he's back, because he's also playing a lot of minutes.
To help Cody Miller-McIntyre, because, those shoulders...
Yeah,
they hurt, man, in the clutch. Those are about to be hurt.
That is true. Although, like, you have Marcus Howard, he can score 100 points in 2 minutes. So
that's also true. That's also true.
But the
guy is amazing.
They need help at center. I would look for a center, and they don't need nothing spectacular. They don't need a superstar. They don't need some kind of a dominant post move genius. They just need a solid center who can play 12 minutes of good, honest defense and rebounding and setting some screens for Marcus Howard. So something like that. Maybe you can find a player inside the ACB league, maybe in the free agency, but it would definitely help.
I heard they have some really good athletic centers that they're in Turkey. Dano Turu.
That's what I'm saying. Moses Wright.
I think Baskonia, maybe.
Moses Wright. And never heard a guy before he signed with Olympiacos, and all of a sudden on his debut, he scores 18 points?
Mm-hmm.
Baskonia doesn't even need that. Like I said, they just need someone who can help them.
My offer is for Panathinaikos. I was watching them. I watched quite a lot of games recently of their team. I love what they're doing defensively. Marius Grigonis is playing an amazing season, but I still think for the playoffs to have a better chance to reach the Final Four, I still think, and I know Giannis Popopetru is back right now, but I still think they need a bigger small forward, a bigger body. It doesn't have to be a crazy good player. Ergin Ataman likes to play with three guards, to have the creation, to have the shooting. Marius have been amazing. But I think in the playoffs, or in the Final Four, if you want to have a chance to win it all, you will have teams that have really big bodies in the small forward position. Gabriel Deck, the first thing that strikes in my mind. And if you want to have a chance to beat those and to not be exposed in every possession, I think they need to look in that direction. I think that would add another layer to their already good defense. And if that guy can shoot the three-pointer also, it would be, I think, perfect. Do you have any other teams in mind?
I first of all want to react to your
okay, sure.
To your
what do
idea.
You think?
I still don't understand why Juancho Hernangomez is not used as a small forward. Like I at the moment, it just seems like he lost all of his confidence, and maybe all the public criticism got to him. But like, he's playing as a 4 versus Roland Schmitz. Well,
they're going at him in every possession.
Schmitz just physically beats him. He's being outmuscled in the paint, and then Ataman goes out to criticize him. Like, so maybe he can be more useful as a small forward. Don't put him on a guy like Schmitz. Like, try something else. So that's just an idea. But I agree that signing a new player could even help you more. Although I think that roster is deep enough, and if everyone's healthy, they do have enough players. But yeah, that makes sense what you said. Moving on, talking about the other teams, it was so hard for me to figure out what do I want to improve.
There's
like with Efes, I would like to improve 2 or 3 areas,
positions,
and it's not going to happen in February. It's unrealistic.
Oh, you were going this way because my thought was there are so many teams that have a lot of players. They have bodies, but I don't think they have enough talent, or that talent matches around each other. That was my problem with a lot of teams. Like Olympiacos, they have 15 guys, but they are still missing a certain player, I think. But how are you going to sign if you already have so many talented players that need minutes, that want to play, that can give you something, but not necessarily put you over the top?
So maybe one idea for me would be to sign a guard for Virtus Bologna, because in some of the games I've watched recently, it seems to me like they're running out of gas. They have so many veteran players, and in some of the games, I didn't see the same energy that I saw in the first part of the season. Okay, just recently they got a really nice and important win over Partizan, but there were some pretty bad games, I would say, for them in the last few weeks. So you do have Cordinier, but also there are many veteran players you're depending on, like Danny Hackett and Marco Bellinelli. And Lomas is probably just like a short-term solution. So if possible, I would like to add younger player, a guard who could add some energy, who could play probably some short periods during the game for 4 or 5 minutes where he gives you some scoring, some speed. Just that. Again, nothing spectacular, nothing impressive. Not looking for a $1 million player. Just someone who could help.
Not looking for another Marcus Howard.
No,
in February.
No, it's just that I got the impression that maybe they're just like running out of gas. They were beaten in Barcelona 57-84. They were beaten in Istanbul 75-88. It just shows me that maybe they don't have the same energy they had in the first part of the season, and they trying to get to the playoffs, and it's gonna be tough. So maybe some help.
Yeah, I would agree. On the other hand, do you know how many times they have lost this season at home?
At home? Once?
Yeah. When?
Zalgiris.
First game.
First game.
That's crazy. And the comeback against Partizan, Ife Lundberg, again with some clutch shots.
So that's what I'm saying. Like, it's not like they're in a crisis or anything like that.
But it's hard for them.
Some help.
And with Tornika Shingelia, injured.
Yeah, that's true.
Another thing that I had in my mind is I would love to see Barcelona signing a guard to help. And there is a guy that just started practicing with them that is known as a pretty good basketball player, And I don't know the state that he's in, but I think he's better, with his mental health. I'm obviously talking about Ricky Rubio. I would love to see him sign with Barcelona, with his experience, with his passing, with his defense. I think that would be huge. That would be great. Barcelona is already a super good team, but the way they play their game, the way they build around their game, around the pick and rolls, and you have Ricky Rubio there. I think that would be huge, and I think it would help. It's not only would be a feel-good story, but I think it would help Barcelona as well. What do you think? I mean, it's hard to
I don't know because I haven't seen him play for 2 years probably. And sometimes even if the player is really, really good, if your point guard is not going to shoot the free, it might not help you as much as you're thinking. Like, he's a great passer, he's a good defender, but if he's not taking those 3-point shots, well, you already have Tomas Satoransky, a limited shooter. You have Jokubaitis, you have Laprovitola. So for Jokubaitis, probably if Rubio joins the team and actually signs a contract, it's not the best situation as a Spanish player, as a legendary Spanish player. He's going to get minutes, and he's probably going to get your minutes because Laprovitola is so important, and Satoransky is the primary point guard for them. But I would love to see Rubio on the court. That's a fact. What I also would love to see is Maccabi bringing back Lorenzo Brown, because the man definitely has problems. I think probably injuries or health problems. He's not himself right now. They don't need a new signing.
He's not as good as last year.
There's something wrong, and it's probably, I don't know, his back or his knee or something that stops him from playing his best basketball. It's not the same Lorenzo Brown. The double week in Spain was terrible for him. The numbers were terrible, especially in Madrid game. So for Maccabi to be successful, they need Lorenzo Brown desperately.
And I wonder if his shape has something to do with the injury that he missed the World Cup for this summer.
Could be.
He said that he's not going to play, but not because he doesn't want to, but because he has injury and he wants time to recover because of the long season. He doesn't want to play 2 years in a row without a rest. And it's...
And I'm not taking shots at Lorenzo Brown.
No.
It's just obviously that something is wrong and he's struggling and he's still trying to play. He's still trying to help the team. But you see his frustration when he goes to the bench, that he is not happy with the current state. So I just hope Lorenzo Brown, before the playoffs or somehow, gets healthy. Maybe he needs to sit out a couple of weeks. But I want to see the real Lorenzo Brown. They don't need any signings, probably. They just need Lorenzo Brown.
Do you have any other solutions? Because
not really.
The way I was looking at the standings, and the thing that was that, you know, I would love to add to Fenerbahce, you know, a defensive-minded center,
but
they already have three.
Then you need to cut someone, and
right.
It's probably not going to happen in February.
Partizan, I would like to make some changes, but it's not possible. They already have like 10 or 11 guys who are really good and who can play. Maybe a defensive-minded small forward there, because Mateusz Ponitka is not having a great year. And I really believed in him. I thought he's going to fit in really nicely, but I'm not sure whether that's injuries, because he missed
last year. We thought the same about Papapetru. Somehow, these small forwards just maybe don't fit in that team. I don't know.
You know, they are not great defensively. I think they're still 17th in that standings. I'm probably 95% sure they're not going to sign anything anymore, because, as I said, they already have 10 or 11 players that are good role players in any EuroLeague team. The same with Fenerbahce. The same with Olympiacos. How many guys they have, even with the ones that are injured right now, that can play EuroLeague, that are EuroLeague material? Yeah. It has to be 12 plus. And
for sure,
how you are not going to play all the guys.
Yeah, that's true. Like, I think for some of those teams, they don't need new signings. They need some of the players they have to get healthy. And when they have the full roster, you don't need to add players. Like Monaco, for example, now Okobo is back with the team. Jordan Lloyd is back. So you have all these players. And I saw their game versus Fenerbahce, and they do look great now that the players are back. But 3 or 4 weeks ago, when Okobo was suspended and Lloyd was still injured, you were thinking like maybe they are in trouble, because Mike James needs more help. They need more ball handlers. They need someone who can create. But that's the thing. You might sign a new player, and then the ones you have come back after their injuries. And does it...
Boy, we have problems.
And sometimes signing new player does not help the chemistry in the team, you know? So maybe I would say most of these teams just need the players to be healthy, not necessarily add someone new.
And that's been a huge problem this season in the EuroLeague and everywhere.
Definitely.
The injuries. Anyway, I think that's a wrap-up for this URBONUS episode. If you enjoyed it, hit that like button, comment down below with your suggestions, maybe for your favorite team, what you want them to sign, how to improve the roster. Thanks again to our sponsor, SK Store. I think Rytis is going to use those shoes for his amateur games.
It depends on the size, but it looks like my size.
I think they're good. So
I will try it on.
Visit skstore.eu. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week for a Q&A episode. Bye.
See you guys.